The opinions and statements expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of WWDB, its staff, or management.
Good afternoon, Greater Philadelphia area. This is TooleTime Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. She's Stacey Mitchell. And we've got special guest Steve Buzogany. And we all work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we're streaming live on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Just look up Tom Toole Sales Group. And there is a lot of real estate news this week, probably more than normal. So I'm sure everyone's super excited about that that's listening. But we're going to dig in right away. And we're going to start with what the Fed did last week. So the big news coming out was that the Fed had their meeting last week, like they normally do as scheduled, and they raised the key interest rate 0.5 percentage point, which is the highest rate increase since 1981. And a lot of people are reacting. We've got expert opinions we're going to unpack. We've got consumer opinions we're going to unpack. So for the three of you sitting here, we're dealing with consumers. We're hearing the news in real time. What does it all mean? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for buyers, it's certainly being posed a lot. What does this mean for my payment? So we have to recalculate those out. Depending on when they last would have gotten their pre-approval, I'm typically recommending that they speak to their lender again, just to get all of those numbers figured out, so that you have that up front and you know what you're working with. And I have also had other people that have said that they kind of want to back away, which I know we've talked about what that can mean, but there's been a reaction to it for sure.
Yeah, there's also on the flip side of that, there's the sellers, which basically is like, okay, maybe with this tick up in interest rates, it might be your house might not be as worth as much as it used to, and you can't just throw it up on the market and get whatever the heck you want whenever you want now, because now buyer power is weakened with the increase in the rate. So now it's like, hey, maybe you might want to have some consideration when you throw this thing up on the market. Maybe don't just slap a price tag on it and see what the heck happens.
Yeah, I have to agree. For the sellers, it's definitely their pool of buyers could be reduced, and they have to kind of come to terms with the reality of the market and not be way aggressive as we've been seeing. There are houses that are sitting longer, and some folks are able to even get inspections. Right, Steve?
Yes.
And for buyers, definitely, your buying power potentially is reduced. So I know it's been a wake-up call for some of my clients that I've been working with. It puts them into a totally different, either a smaller house, or I should say a lesser home that they were anticipating. And if you were a client that decided to wait since last year because you wanted the market to cool, you have really limited your opportunity at this point. So, and if you're considering waiting until further, I don't advise that at this point, because the rates are only going to go up. So your buying power is going to continue to be reduced.
Well, what you said something there pretty interesting, Stacey, and Steve, you did as well, and Sarah. It's like we've talked about it all. Like people knew this was coming, and the thing about this is that this wasn't unexpected. This was kind of what people projected, and what we saw the market do right after the announcement. Rates didn't jump up; they already kind of predetermined it in their pricing, because the Fed doesn't set the key interest rate, and a lot of people expected this. This was kind of what was supposed to happen. What we also know is that Black Knight, who is one of those financial firms that makes predictions and gives financial advice, they stated that this is going to place housing affordability at its worst since 2006. And what I know is that because housing affordability is a lot higher right now. I mean, you've all had clients that had to kind of like readjust their budget, right? They weren't they were looking up to maybe X, and now they have to go like X minus 10%. Is that fair statement?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that real estate agents should be doing, and all the consumers that are listening, it might be time to start looking at adjustable rate mortgages again. I mean, we just talked about this, I think it was last week, with one of our lenders that we work with, and we've heard about it from our real estate coaches, that the 10-year ARM may now be something that, especially those first-time buyers that kind of got priced out of the market, they're going to need to look at. Instead of, I want a 30-year fixed loan at 3 point whatever percent, that's gone. That doesn't exist anymore. Has any of your clients actually like explored an ARM? Have you had those conversations with them yet? What's that like? Because this is the hardest part to me in the market is when you think you can afford something and then it just changes literally within days. I mean, we've all been through this.
Well, I actually had a conversation with one of my clients about an ARM. So I think it kind of piqued their interest because it's going to allow them to stay searching in the same price point that they, were searching in. They want to investigate it more. They're going to talk to their lender and find out more information. But I was really glad that I had that information that I could share with them at that time.
Did they go with it or
not yet?
Okay,
they're still exploring.
Are they open to it?
They're open to it. Yeah, especially the 10-1 for the 10 years. Of course, the concern is, but they plan to buy their next house and stay there.
Okay.
So that I think that is going to be helpful for them if they can get into an ARM, with the 10-year.
Well, it's a way to get in because, I mean, who knows what happens with rates down the line, but the fact that you can get into a home, I mean, right now the win is getting a house,
Getting
right?
a house,
Is that
yeah.
I mean, is that fair to say? So are you guys running into this? Have you had these conversations with anybody?
Me personally, I have not yet, and maybe because me personally, I'm also more of a conservative financial person.
I'm with you.
So I like to try to avoid risk as much as possible. So and one of the best hedges against inflation is a fixed rate asset. So having a fixed rate for 30 years, no matter what happens to the interest rate, you're not going to have to deal with a change in that interest rate, which is, right now dealing with it. Like my wife and I bought a house last year, 3.1 or 3% flat, but like literally less than 12 months later, it's at 5.5, I think. So it's like, all right, 2.5 points higher. Like because it's fixed, it's like I don't care really for me, but like for buyers, it's I just don't advise them either. So for me, I'm not having that conversation yet anyway, but to do the adjustable rates.
You got something I want to come back to in a second, how you're targeting different properties for your buyers because of the terms they want.
Yeah.
Sarah, I know you've run into this with a couple people, right? And I mean, how's the conversation going?
Do you mean for the ARM?
Like, hey, rates went up and you can't afford what you thought. What do we want to do?
Yeah, I've had it go a couple different directions, including, people that have, said they want to back away for a little bit, at which point I kind of gave them the breakdown of what that looks like. In terms of conversations about the 10-year ARM, I've had one. It was with Eric. We're thinking about me.
Okay.
We're talking about maybe
doing it. Tell us more about
doing
this. This is really interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe give everyone some perspective because you're going through a home purchase and a rehab and a lot of moving parts here.
Timing was just phenomenal. So, yeah, we went under contract earlier this year. Rates were still pretty low. But we purchased a home that we are doing a complete renovation to. So we are doing a construction loan. So with that, you don't switch over to your regular terms for your loan until the construction's completed. So during this time, rates have been hiking up. Also, the cost of doing work and all appliances and everything has been going up. But and
managing it.
Yes. So we're looking at hopefully early July for everything to be completed with the house. And as we were having these conversations last week about the adjustable rate mortgage, we've been talking about it a little bit. I don't think we've really landed on anything yet. I think just, running some more numbers and kind of figuring out. I mean, what is good is if you have the right lender, they can go through and give you worst case scenario. This is what this could look like. If rates, nobody can predict exactly what they're going to do. But we haven't landed on anything yet, but that's the one conversation that I've had so far.
So how'd it go with Eric? What did he think?
He was interested. He was like, all right, let's talk to Kevin.
Well, the smart
and
thing
I was
is,
like, yeah, talk to Kevin.
Well, I think that's a tough spot when you're you talked about you and your wife buying a home last year. I've been through this. I mean, Bridget didn't even see the home that we bought before. So, I mean, I think there's a little bit of trust that's involved. Mm-hmm. And it depends on the relationship, right? I don't know how you guys operate, but there's always typically one spouse that kind of handles the money and all that
Eric.
stuff. Yeah, well, so that's kind of, I knew that going into this, right? So you're having him just go right to the source, which I think is really smart, but you're also taking your own advice, which a lot of realtors don't do. How many times have you seen a realtor, they know what they're supposed to do, but then they don't adjust the price on their house, or they don't make the bid that's going to win? You were in a multiple offer situation with the house that you bought down in Jersey.
Yeah.
So I love that you're taking your own advice, and I think 95% of agents should just listen to this clip if they learn nothing else from this show do what you think you're supposed to do and advise yourself the same way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I was my own hardest client. I was like literally the worst client I ever had, basically.
So tell us more.
Well, like, because I was picky about things. I was like, like I'm telling for me, it's hard
one
when
of
you're.
those, huh?
Yeah, I'm a terrible client.
Stacey judged very hard there.
Yeah,
I could tell.
And quick. Do you see how that was?
And she knew.
Fast. No, so for me, it was just like, we're picky about certain things, and my wife and I both have high standards, so we're both like, oh well, we don't like this one, or toss this one, and so finally, when you find the right one, then it's like, then it's really bad because now my client is now my wife, so it's like, you better get this house, or else. So now I was like,
Out on the
I have to
street,
go
yeah.
home to this client now,
Yeah.
so I better get my job done the right way.
Yeah. Well, when we were searching, I was like, well, Eric, when we put in our first offer, you've already signed the buyer agency with me. So
You're stuck. This supersedes the marriage vows and everything.
In court, it might. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. Yes.
Good stuff. All right, so we're kind of starting to, and this is something new. We just started talking about the past couple weeks. So I knowing that rates went up, they were kind of factored into mortgages, and I think that, and even Kevin Sutera and Kyle Sutera with Mortgage America kind of told people that when the Fed meeting was coming up. Now, I was in an interesting place last week. I was at the T360 Summit. We're going to talk about takeaways and breakdowns from that. It's 16 CEOs back-to-back in like a interview-style format. A lot of them came out last week. A lot of these guys had earnings calls. So Zillow had an earnings call last week. EXP had an earnings call last week. All these major companies had earnings calls. And the theme from that, and this was right as the Fed was meeting, so all this stuff was happening at the same time, was that there's a good earnings season. Does that foreshadow trouble ahead for the housing market? And Rich Barton actually went out and said specifically, I see a choppy market coming up here for the remainder of Q2 and the rest of this year. So what are you seeing on the front lines right now? Because I've got a clear opinion about this, but you're also out there working every day with buyers and sellers. What are you three saying? Anybody can go first.
Okay. So for me, like, I guess for me, I guess now's probably a good time to talk about what we talked about like this morning. For a lot of buyers have certain situations and certain comfort levels when it comes to buying a house. So I would say probably like 75% of buyers I'm working with don't want to waive a home inspection. So what I've been telling them, and Stacey, you and I were just talking about this too, that if you want, like, this market is a double-edged sword. So you can either choose to be chopped by the sword, or you can choose to wield the sword. So if you want to be chopped by it, then you're going to be looking at homes that are a day or two on the market, and they have where the sellers are not motivated to sell because they just went on, and not only are they not motivated, they have every offer in the world to pick from. So they're super high competition and low motivation. That is a death blow to a buyer. Or you could wait and look for homes that are on the market 25 to 30 days or more, and where those sellers, like anything that's listed for more than a week in this market is considered stale, which is ridiculous to say out loud.
Very fair.
Ridiculous to say out loud. But now in this market, 7 days, 14 days or later, you're now wielding the sword as a buyer, where you can say, hey, Mr. Seller, you've been on the market for quite some time. So let's see a little bit off that purchase price, and I'm going to have my inspections, and you get to have a conversation like the way things were normally before this whole craziness with COVID and all that other stuff happened. So that's probably the best way. That's the way I've been advising buyers, and that's actually been working out really well because it's more like dealing real estate. It's like doing real estate in a normal market versus a low inventory market, which is actually more beneficial to the buyer. And then when it comes to dealing with the sellers, you just have to advise them properly. Like, hey, just so you know, interest rates are up. You need to price this thing appropriately. You can't just throw it on and get whatever the hell you want. Like, you just have to, list it properly and put some thought into this.
It is all about expectations and how to, best get your clients' expectations in check. Sometimes it's a little difficult, though, in the beginning. I have clients that I'm working with, and they have extremely high expectations. And it was presented, Steve and I were talking about it earlier, and it was presented to them to start looking at, quote, stale inventory, unquote. They're not at that point yet. I guess they haven't lost enough offers yet. And
that's usually it.
Yeah. And they're not at DEFCON 10, although they should be, because
it goes to 10. I thought it was only 5.
Oh.
Apparently there's 10 now.
Okay, 5. Maybe they're at
kidding. Go
DEFCON 3. But they only have till June 14th to actually relocate. So they don't think they're at DEFCON 5. I've been at DEF CON 5 for them because I know the market. For some reason, it's just hard to get through to some folks. And I told Steve, sometimes they're their own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm. So as a point of reference, DEF CON 5 is the least severe, and DEF CON 1 is most severe.
Oh,
so
okay.
They're not at DEF CON 1 is what we're looking for.
Okay.
Got it.
I've been at DEF CON 1. They're probably at DEF CON 4 thinking, la, la, la. We can close.
I always thought it was the other way around.
So did I.
Yeah.
This is just the magical revelation for me right now to
I
hear
learned
this.
something.
Thank you, Google.
Yeah.
Not. Yes. All right, so Lawrence Yun, he said this, and I'd love to get especially Steve and Sarah's take, because Stacey, that you weren't even practicing real estate when this happened. So Lawrence Yun came out and said we're going to have like a unique recession because affordability is climbing, but prices are still going to climb as well. And he believes that we're going to see unit sales activity back to pre-COVID days, which seems like a very long time ago, even though it was less than 2 years, or just right about 2 years, depending on when you break it down for Pennsylvania. We're retreating back to where prices were high, prices are not retreating, and it's things aren't selling in like 36 hours. Is kind of what he's talking about here. So if that's what he predicts happening, how are you going to advise your clients in the market? Because I believe this. I'm clear he's absolutely right. Your strategy already, like 25 days we can get a home inspection. Soon it's going to be 7 days we're going to be able to get a home inspection. Not quite now, but that's where it's trending. What do you two think about this? Because you were both practicing real estate before and after, and it was a quick learning curve for you, Sarah, very quick. And Steve obviously been doing it a lot longer, but I want to get your take on that because I'm clear Lawrence Yun is onto something here, chief economist for NAR.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be making sure you're, as we touched on earlier, that your pre-approval is proper for what is currently going on. Absolutely, if you look at some homes that have been out there for a little bit longer, I think that's going to give you an edge up. But, in whether it's during COVID times or pre-COVID times or now hopefully post-COVID times, having that conversation with your buyer and finding out really what is most important. And then if you do find a home that does fit all of the boxes, certainly you want to try and get everything for them that you can. But if you've missed out on other offers or you've, stood in your own way a couple times, I think still advising them on what's going to be your best case scenario to get the job done. And then obviously to talk to the other side of the transaction and find out what's really important.
Yeah.
Love
for me, I think it really comes down to, this is what's going to, for the real estate agents in the world, I think this is where the rubber really meets the road. And this is where, like, I've said this to you multiple times, where I'd say even a turkey can fly in a hurricane. And right now, every freaking person thinks they can sell a house. There's a bunch of people going out saying, I can get a real estate license. All I got to do is throw it out on the market and whatever. Mm-hmm. A bunch of turkeys basically are flying around right now with all the eagles, and they're taking up a lot of business. So basically what happens is when this inventory or the interest rates come up a little bit and the inventory starts to slow down, the month supply goes up from 0.5 for ridiculous as that is, to like a normal like 3, 4, and for reference, a flat market for everyone listening, a flat market is 6.0. Yes. Basically, a balanced market between
6 month supply. Yeah,
a 6 month supply, MSI 6 month supply of inventory. So if this thing even flirts with like 3 or 4, we are going to be closer to like a more balanced market here, and that's when the hurricane's going to end and all the turkeys are going to hit the floor, and then it's just going to be left with the eagles flying around here actually closing deals because they're better skilled, they're more prepared for meetings, they're more prepared, they're better dressed, they're better closing skills. Like, I mean, hey, I see some, you guys are laughing a little bit, but look,
I appreciate what you're talking about.
But like, what about like how many times have we walked in or out of a showing and the guy or the girl coming behind us? Like, I mean, some guys I've seen like wearing like khaki shorts and flip-flops and like a ripped t-shirt. I'm like, are you selling real estate right now? Like, are you crazy? Like,
we don't know if they sold anything, to be clear. They're showing real estate.
Right. So. They're showing it. Yeah, they're glorified door openers at that point. But still, like, that's basically what I would say is like right now, everybody, even sellers, I mean, they're selling homes by owner, like as opposed to even hiring a real estate agent because it's that easy right now. Anybody can sell a home in this market. It's the people who are preparing themselves now, increasing their skills now. So when the hurricane stops and the turkeys hit the ground, your wings are trained and you're one of the eagles still flying around and closing deals.
Well, we're seeing the very beginning of this. We talked about it today, literally, that the number of agents for the first time in 10 years with NAR declined for the first time in a decade. It went from 1.539 million and change to, or excuse me, 1.559 million and change to 1.53 million. So 29,000. may not seem like a lot.
It begins.
It's the well, it's the first time in 10 years, right?
It's got to start somewhere.
You look when this peaked, right? Well, what happened in 2012? The market kind of came back around after the 2008, Great Recession, whatever they called it. And that's when people started getting licensed again, because 2008 to 2012 were also those like duke it out, slugfest sort of deals. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here. I'm not saying the housing market's going to crash. To your point, it's about skill. We had a ton of people today. We had our quarterly meeting today, and we talked about what the experts are predicting, right? I think Ricky Carruth, think what you want about the guy. He said that this is when the highest producers take market share. Tom Ferry talked about choosing your hard, and it's either skills or work in a hard market. I'm clear. Everyone in our organization, we're like, yes, I can't wait for this to happen, because it's going to be easier to advise buyers. I mean, think about, you just went through buying a home, right? How much time did you have to make a decision?
Not much at all. I mean, it's you go out there, and if you want a chance, you hop in
On the spot.
Yep.
So how did your husband feel about all this? Not you, because you've been working it, but how did Eric feel about all this? Because I'm sure that was, even though I'm sure you told him what was going on,
Yeah.
he knew. You guys are married. You have a beautiful 1-year-old girl. I think she just turned 1. It was Mother's Day
Yesterday.
last year. I knew that. So
That's fun.
It's awesome.
I didn't remember the date, but at least I knew the holiday.
Yeah,
so
no, that's great.
better than most.
Yeah.
But how did he feel about that, being on the other side? Because I think that's always an interesting conversation.
He knew what to expect going out there, because in addition to me like prepping him, he hears me in the evenings all the time when you're talking to clients and you're going through all of the scenarios. So he did know what to expect. I mean, when we bought this house, we brought our contractor out with us. We waived inspections. We went over ask. We really did all the things that we, especially at that point, needed to do in order to secure the property. So he was on board with doing all of that. Plus, the home that we bought, we knew we were going to be doing a lot of renovations too. So,
so he had more exposure than most. But I mean, so how did Ashley feel about this? You guys bought a home, I guess, it was like a little over a year ago. Was she kind of ready for this, or?
Yeah, I mean, she knows, because being married for a while and been dating for like 10 years too prior to that. So like she knows that, like, she's heard me, like, when I have good clients and then how much I like them, and I talk about how cool they are, or if there's there's troublesome clients that, to put it lightly, they
I don't know what you're talking about, Steve. I've never had anyone like that.
I can't like she'll hear me like complain about them, and then she'll be like, so she's like, Steve, I can never do your job. There's so many highs and lows and all this other stuff. But then she been exposed to hearing my conversation. She just like knew what it was about, and like when she sees me win an offer or lose an offer, she's being exposed to what's going on in the market. So when it came down to getting our house, she just said, like, it was just like, go get the house and don't come home until you have it. And that was that.
So your spouse, I mean, I'm asking because I think it's very real when you're on the other side, or when when you're going through these transactions. And what I see happening is, if the market cools a little bit, it's just going to get a little easier for buyers. They're going to have like a night to think about it, or a couple hours to think about it.
Right.
And it's still the job of the agent to prep them. And Susan from our team said this, that every buyer should always be in a multiple offer situation, have that mindset no matter what, because you don't know when another offer is going to come in. I do agree with this. I do see the market starting to shift. I mean, I think we're all in agreement here that we're at the very beginning of this. Rates are up. All the experts are saying it. And more importantly, I think we're feeling it in the day-to-day. I mean, even though it's still competitive now, wait to see what happens come July. That's when I'm clear we're going to have this run that we go through the spring every year. I'm telling you, July is going to be when people go down the shore, they start relaxing a little bit, vacation time, and then the market's going to take a little more time for it to come back. And I think that's going to be an opportunity for a lot of these buyers and for the agents that are out there that have been training their people and speaking to them and getting in this dialogue, because this is going to have an impact. Affordability's up, prices are going to continue to rise. We're at the end of this run. I don't think there's any question there. The market's not going to go down. It's just not going to be like it was the past 24 months.
Correct. Yeah. I always say to my clients, that real estate only goes one way. So, and it's been that way for like 113 years. And that, outside of like the Great Recession, which was a mortgage crisis, I mean,
institutional failure. Yeah, I totally agree.
Right. I mean, after that, and that only lasted a few years. In 113 years, real estate has only gone one way. So even if you did buy at the quote unquote top of the market in 2008, if you didn't sell, then you didn't lose.
Totally agree there. Well, imagine what those people are thinking now if it's 2022 and they're still in the house. I mean, that's when you do really well.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the T360 Summit, key takeaways from the CEOs that matter in real estate. This is TooleTime Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliances Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
The Tom Toole Sales Group is the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania with over $165 million in volume for 2021. I'm Tom Toole, and our team has achieved that kind of success by being a great place to work with and to work for. No one knows Greater Philly better than we do. We know real estate, but more importantly, we're real people. We hire the best agents and we give them all the tools to succeed. Even our brand new agents sell 17 to 24 homes a year because our team delivers the best experience in real estate. Teams deliver a better experience than individuals, and we're a top 1% real estate team in the country. We call it AAA service. We're your advocate, ally, and advisor. Because this isn't a transaction to us, it's a relationship. If you're buying or selling a home, call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. That's TomToole.com. Sell your home for more, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
For the best local mortgage service and great rates on your money, look no further than Mortgage America. We've been operating in the greater Philadelphia area for 40 years with a focus on smooth, easy access to home purchasing. Whether you're a first-time buyer, upsizing or downsizing, or just refinancing, we have programs for you. We also have closing cost assistance programs and access to subsidized interest rates. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. To learn more, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000. We always have a person available to take your call with around-the-clock human service. Purchase your home with the personalized, local service you find at Mortgage America.
Mortgage America is an equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
Welcome back to TooleTime Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. She's Sarah Tymon. We've got Steve Buzogany from our team here as well. Gabe is behind the camera, and we all work at the Tom Toole Sales Group with RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are streaming live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Just look up Tom Toole Sales Group. So we were just talking at the break. Last week, I had the privilege to attend the T360 Summit. So if you don't know what that is, think about like the biggest research firms that are out there for different industries, and this is what T360 is for real estate. They're a consulting firm. They come out with a report that's about 3 inches thick about all the trends in the industry, who the top brokerages are, all very, very detailed stuff. It's run by Stefan Swanpole, and the cool thing about this is that there's no media there. It's an invite-only conference. I'm not sure how I got in, but I'm glad I'm there. And it's 16 CEOs back-to-back for anywhere from a half hour to an hour getting interviewed on stage. So it's not like a keynote. It's hard-hitting questions. The one I went to in 2019, they asked the CEO of Realogy about his stock price when it was $2. It's that kind of question that gets asked. So very good stuff there. And I noted to me, the four most important people I thought were there that had the best to say were Rich Barton from Zillow, Gary Keller from Keller Williams, Nick Bailey, who I got to sit down with, have on our Agent Hacks podcast with RE/MAX, and Gino Blafari, the CEO of Home Services, which is like Berkshire Hathaway, all those companies. And I'm just going to throw the notes I took to you three, and I just want to get some reaction on all four of them because I found them to be the most interesting, the most compelling, and the most dynamic. So we'll start with Rich Barton. He always leads it off. He was like at 8 a.m., and his talk was very different than when I saw him 3 years ago in 2019. They owned up to, hey, our iBuyer program failed miserably. He didn't say miserably, but that's basically what he said. He also talked a lot about the Zillow Super App, how they're trying to build the end-to-end experience and getting all their affiliates involved, meaning Zillow Home Loans, which we can talk about a little bit. We have a deal going on with them right now. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I got some intel there. Zillow Title, all the affiliated businesses they're trying to bundle together. But to me, this was the biggest thing. He talked about that when Zillow wins, consumers win. And in order for consumers to win, Zillow's partners need to win, and it's not a zero-sum game. What do you three think about all that? And their partners are agents that they work with, to be very clear for everybody.
I mean, I think it's them finally coming to see the light a little bit, whereas I think at least for the majority of the beginning of my career, they were like seen as the enemy of the real estate agent, and I think they portrayed themselves and saw themselves as that as well. And I think finally when they realized that a large corporation like that can't maximize or beat out a local real estate agent who lives in the market and can walk someone through a house, and I think what they were trying to do is almost eliminate the real estate agent, which is not people don't buy houses like they buy on Amazon. You can't just go look at a house online and hit add to shopping cart. It's not the same thing.
Right.
So and Zillow finally, I think it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and I think now is the when for them. They finally realized that they just can't beat out the local real estate agents. So now, okay, we can't beat them, so now let's join them. And now it's basically let's partner with the best of the best and let them do what they do best, let the best do what they do best, and let's see how we can support them so in a situation where we can now work together and both win. And I think they finally just came to that realization.
Yeah, they realized that real estate is about relationships. And you need person-to-person contact. You know what I mean? It's like,
great segue here to our final segment.
Oh,
you should have went last.
Exactly. Sorry. So when they realize that, and they know how valuable the local agents are that come with the knowledge and come with the experience, is if they can add tools to that and enhance that, then they could definitely have a total winning program.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a big enough pie there for them to certainly come out with their large chunk that they're going to be looking for. And I know we talked the other week about how they're going to be very selective with agents that they continue to work with. So they want to make sure they have the right pieces in place. But yeah, I mean, I think they'll want everybody to kind of work together, get the job done, and do that as long as they can make that work.
So I agree with everything you said. This is the first time I've heard this from Rich Barton. Their previous CEO, Spencer Raskoff, was very pro-agent. I mean, he's, we've heard that before. Rich Barton, he founded Expedia. They kind of put travel agents out of business. He kind of has an opinion of realtors that I don't think is unfounded, but his experience just kind of sucked when he bought his home after he moved overseas. We've all heard of these before. I mean, we deal with all. We can't. I mean, we've worked with so many folks, just the four of us at the table here, that had a bad experience with another agent, and then they came and we were able to help them. So I get that part. What he underestimated were people like us, people that are really committed to helping folks, that are professionals, that are ready to deliver the proper service that's needed. And look, they had to come this way because they got their asses kicked with the iBuying program. They lost a ton of money. Now it's a blip on the radar because they've got a huge multi-billion-dollar market cap. It's the first time they've come around and said this. Susan Daimler, their president, said that a couple weeks ago. We talked about it, I think, last week on the show, that real estate agents are essential. And without them, I don't see how they collect their referral fee with Flex Partners. I mean, it's that if you have a bad agent that's your partner, it doesn't matter what you think of them. If they can't close a suitcase or they can't, they can't work with someone properly and explain the process, it's that the consumer's going to say no. The consumer's going to say no to them, not Zillow. So I found that to be pretty insightful. What I do anticipate is that like Zillow Home Loans is going to be the next thing they start pushing. Like we're going to see a lot of that. I'm a little skeptical on Zillow Home Loans, and I'll tell you why. We have a transaction in process right now where the buyer is working with one of our listings. Guess where the appraiser came from Zillow Home Loans?
Buffalo.
San Francisco.
Buffalo. You knew. Buffalo, New York.
And they're appraising homes here in PA?
In Pennsylvania.
That doesn't make sense.
We've talked about this before. So Sarah, good work on remembering there. It was like Jeopardy, Buffalo. But I mean, I'm a little skeptical there, just like I am with any big bank.
Yeah.
And I'm going to again push the local card here. I do like to see Zillow coming around selfishly because we are Flex Partners, number one. But then also 3/4 of the country's using the app right now. So you want to kind of be in front of those people and then put them into your database. And I think that's the play for real estate agents here. So This to me is really great news for any real estate agent that's out there right now. I love this. Sounds like you guys are all on board. So let's go to number 2. Gary Keller from Keller Williams. Love Gary Keller. I think he's one of the best minds in the business. He had 3 things that I heard, and I'll get your feedback on them here. One is that if you're not nurturing leads, you're just spinning your wheels right now. And when he talks about lead nurturing, it means like follow-up, basically. He also said agents are willing to give up money to give up money so they can also give up the administrative side of their business and focus on selling, and that the team brokerage is the new trend we're going to see in 2022 and beyond. What do you guys think about that?
I agree. I mean, lead nurturing, definitely. That's always been that.
Well, we've seen that, I think, even more the past, 2 months, let alone 2 years.
Yeah, you definitely have to keep those connections. Agents willing to give up money to alleviate or delegate the admin side of the business? Oh, 100%. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking to Michael from our team last week, and he came over from not a team environment. And, I mean, all of those additional behind-the-scene steps are just, they would absolutely boggle you down.
Yes,
They're
especially
horrible.
when he was talking about his listings.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overwhelming.
The checklists that you would need to get through.
Well, we have them all. You just don't have to do it. But
Right.
So, now, I mean, I think I probably have a better perspective. And Steve, I'm imagining you do. Doing the admin work, that's not the highest and best use of your time. Mm-hmm. So I'd rather just go sell another house. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I remember vividly doing brochures at 9:30 at night on a house, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the hell am I doing with my life here? This is what's going on, and you're falling asleep, and so I found that to be pretty insightful. But a lot of people he said a lot of stuff that I think people have accepted in the industry, but they don't want to come out and say publicly.
Yeah, he says the quiet part out loud, basically.
Which I like.
Yes.
If you've met Gary, that's kind of his MO.
It's fine. I mean, how about that? Nurture and follow up with your leads. That's crazy, isn't it? I mean, so the thing is, I mean, that's a principle, and principles last through time, whether it's COVID, not COVID, Great Recession, not Great Recession, booming times. Principles withstand the test of time. And to follow up with your leads as a sales statistic, I think it was the most sales occur after the 5th or 6th touch. It's 80% of sales occur. That didn't change. That's still the same. So just basically what he's really saying is just keep doing what you're doing. Be a good follow-up real estate agent, and you'll continue to have good success. And if you don't follow up, then you won't sell crap.
Well said. We're going to clip that into a reel.
You like that?
It's going to be,
yeah.
be out for you next week. So what I find interesting here, though, with all this is that it's a lot of back to basics. And I think that's what we've been talking about a lot on the show here when it comes to the real estate part, but also internally, the people that are doing the basics are the ones that are winning right now, because I think it got too easy the past couple years, which leads me to the third takeaway from Nick Bailey, which is most agents are renting their business right now. So when you hear that, I explained it to you guys today because we had a meeting earlier. What comes to mind when you hear that?
I would say that there's some agents that don't even know that it's their business, or they don't treat it as a business, maybe, or they don't realize what growing a business is all about. That's how I see. But renting their business means it's just temporary.
Yeah.
That's great.
I think it's in that book, E-Myth, Revisited, Michael Gerber wrote it. They basically talks about working on your business as working instead of working in it all the time. So if you're in it, then you just get boggled down. Versus if you're working on it, you own it, you grow it. It's taking responsibility and ownership. It's just like a house. Basically, it's you control it versus not controlling it.
So what Nick Bailey also said, and this will probably speak to Steve, you especially here, that 94% of buyers at the closing table, they say they would use their agent again. Only 13% do. So in the a lot of things we're going to talk about here the rest of the show. But what Gary Keller said, nurturing your leads, because I don't think lead nurturing ends when you close the sale. And if that you think that way, we'll gladly take your clients off your hands for you after they close, and we'll just work with them later. I mean, does that speak to you at all? Because I think when I hear that, I hear agents aren't taking ownership in their business. They're not going out and trying to make things happen. They're just waiting for things to happen to them. And it's kind of like when you get a maintenance request as a renter. Just call the landlord management company and say, hey, the shower's leaking, instead of taking ownership and fixing the problem. There's not a lot of personal responsibility when you're renting versus it does when you're owning a home. And that to me is, I would say that's probably one of the most accurate things I've heard in a long time, especially the past 2 years, because we've seen how many people have gotten into the business. They sell a couple homes because they happen to catch the right call at the right time. instead of actually going out and doing the deal themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, number 4 here. And then we'll take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about relationships and how they'll help you in your business and in your personal life. Very good segue there. So Gino Blafari of Home Services, and I know Gino. I've met him a couple times. He came out and said two things. The second one I found very interesting. Doing the same thing does not lead to the same result when you're in the middle of a shift, which I agree with totally there. But secondly, brokerages, very different than teams, but brokerages are falling short because agents are going out and paying coaches for the things they should be getting from their brokerage. What do you three think about that?
Well, I think that, I think agents are finding out that they do need skills. And, if you've been in this business and you can watch other people grow and I've had people ask me, what does your team do? What kind of training do you get? And I think that's really, really important, because if you're not making the strides and making the advances that you want, you do need to be coached, or you need some mentorship. If you're working in a brokerage firm and they don't, you don't have that opportunity, they don't provide that type of service, you're going to look outside and get your own coaching. If you want to advance, if you want to build your business. So I think that some of the brokerage firms, maybe there's some smaller ones that, maybe their leadership's a little older, or they don't understand the whole coaching philosophy, or they're just providing basically a brick and mortar place for agents to hang their license, and they don't know these things, then I think that's where some of these agents could be falling short. And that's why they go and seek mentorship somewhere else and coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're not being helped in a way to show what is going to work now and in the future, and you're just relying on like some things that had worked in the past, and then you see other agents getting all of this other training and up-to-date information and ideas and skills and things, you're going to pretty quickly realize that you're at a disadvantage if you're not up there getting buffed up on what's currently going on, and that you would, if you're going to stay in the business, you're going to have to seek that out.
I mean, realistically, there's an 87% failure rate in 5 years. We all know the stats. And, I mean, you think about right now and just being able to articulate what's happening in the economy, what interest rate hikes mean, just like the conversation we just had. Most agents can't have that conversation right now. They don't take the time to know. They just want to go sell another house instead of building a relationship with someone they can trust and then having that trust kind of come out. And it's really, to me, relationships with your agent are going to be so important, especially as we move ahead into this different market. Because, look, the stock market's a little volatile right now. The Fed's been all over the place. I mean, not all over the place. They've been very clear. We're raising rates. Here's what's going to happen. We're seeing that there's still highly competitive offer situations. You have to take an approach like Steve takes, or like we've talked about, like 30 days on the market's the new 90 days on the market, kind of. If you can't articulate that and someone just keeps losing out on offer after offer, or their home's not selling, and you can't have that tough conversation, and you don't have the training to support that and know what to say and how to say it, I don't know how you're going to stay in business, because it's easy to say, oh, of course they should do that, but if the delivery's wrong, just your body language sucks, or you talk at someone instead of have a conversation with them, no one's going to buy in. So I couldn't agree with what Gino said more there. Any other feedback on this, or you want to kind of break and then get back to the relationship side? All right, so we're going to do that. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and Steve Buzogany from our team, amazing agent, helps onboard our new people. And if you're interested in getting your real estate license, Steve would be the guy that would handle it personally. It's realestatescholarshipprogram.com. If you don't have a license, great way to get in touch with our team and get into the industry. We're going to come back and talk about the importance of relationships and how people can use certain practices business-wise and in their personal life to improve everything that's going on. This is TooleTime, Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
You shouldn't have to deal with all the red tape when getting your mortgage from a big or online bank. At Mortgage America, we have access to big bank money, but with the personalized and detailed service of a local bank. We are here in your community and ready to serve with fast settlements, low down payment options, and first-time homebuyer programs. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. For more information, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000.
Mortgage America is an equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliances Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line. If you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021, making us the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally. Our agents love us because we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture. Agents who've been with us for at least a year average 30-plus sales. Even our brand new agents average 17 to 24 sales a year. We offer proven systems and expert training. We help you set more appointments and sell more houses. Now here's the offer. If you don't have a real estate license yet, we offer real estate scholarships so you can get one for free. Check it out at realestatescholarshipprogram.com or visit the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line at tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Get more out of your real estate career, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole. All right. We are back on TooleTime Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. She's Stacey Mitchell. And we've got Steve Buzogany, super agent onboarder. Nice guy, although he was ripping me at the break. When we all work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we had an interesting segue here, and this is something I know we've been doing internally as an organization, as a team, and it's over-indexing on our relationships. A lot of people say your network is your net worth. You've heard all these terms before. And what Steve wants to talk about is the importance of relationship, but more importantly, specific principles in both business and personal aspects that can help improve your life at a macro level. So, Steve, why don't you tell us all what that means, and then we'll kind of go from there. And I'm sure the ladies are going to have some questions.
Okay, so what I do is actually, because we talked about coaching earlier, I was coached by a guy who taught me how to work by referral, which was the difference. But there's a difference between working by referral and working by word of mouth. Like, word of mouth is very passive. You just kind of take whatever comes in and work with it. Versus working by referral is a very intentional outreach to build a relationship with the people that you work with, and it's a proactive way to generate leads. So that's the way I was taught to do real estate, which is that was my bread and butter, basically. So for me, when it came to building relationships, it was like, how do I get creative to do something face to face with the clients that I have, and as well as the lead generation methods that I use as well. So versus like a Zillow lead that comes in, I have different rankings for every lead. So like a Zillow lead is like a 4 out of 10 versus like a referral, which is like a 9 or a 10 out of 10 because they come ready to sign a contract, those people. It's just like you don't have to work as hard to close them because they come with a review of you already, and it's a 5-star review most of the time. So it's like they're already ready to go. And then it's also more fun. It makes the job more fulfilling. It makes the people are more enjoyable. They're a lot like, because they're friends of a past client of yours, they are a lot like that client. So, and people you don't want referrals from, they just obviously don't get the A+ treatment. So you don't want those referrals.
Real talk here on TooleTime Radio.
Right. Yeah. So if you guys don't, so if I ever sell you a home and I'm not reaching out to you afterwards, it's because I didn't like you. No, I'm just messing around. So anyway, but basically, so as far as building relationships go, basically anytime I sell anybody a home, whether I liked you or not or anything like that, I basically put you into a follow-up service. It's called the after sale program, and then basically you get a series of touches throughout the year, and basically. It could be gifting, it could be events, it could be just personal handwritten notes that you get every 2 or 3 months. Anything like that is where I build the relationship, and then like Gary Keller, who you met with at your service or at your event, he talks about touching a client 33 times per year on a marketing level. So that's basically what I try to do. Is like I have a mailing that goes out on the first of the month, and then I have an email that goes out to them that is related to the mailing that goes out on the first of the month. So just right there, that's 24 touches right there. Then I have a personal note that I handwrite to them every 2 months, every 60 days. So that's like another 6 touches right there. So I'm already at 30. Now I just have to be creative and come up with 3 on my own. And that's at the bare minimum. Now, obviously, I have 4 client events per year, once a quarter. And that's a good way to do multiple face-to-face. Because at this point, I'm at like 250 clients. And to go see every one of them face-to-face is way too much time.
Impossible.
It is impossible. And so basically I have to come up with ways to get in front of them. And I do events like that. So like I just had a client event where I have people come to me and a couple other professionals that I work with to help sell homes. We split a club box at the Phillies game, and basically we had 40 clients of mine come out to go to the box and basically watch the game. So I got to see 40 clients and their friends in like 3-hour time period versus I would have never been able to do 40 clients in 3 hours. And so giving back to my clients is the best way to do it. Now this also, it comes with as far as like the gifts that I give people are also very important too, because when it comes to gifting, I think this is where this is where a lot of people struggle a lot. Especially, I'm not to be like sexist, but men are not very good at this. We just like want the gift, and like we just like we don't pay attention to the details. Like we don't look at the bow or the wrapping, and we just like, what's the gift? Give it to me. so like we don't really look at it. So like I just basically what you have to do to be over the top a little bit is you want to make sure you give the gift properly. And when I say that, I mean like it's a mentor of mine named John Rulin, who wrote the book Giftology. He actually says it's not the thought that counts, it's the thoughtful thought that counts, because you can actually spend money. And a lot of real estate agents do this, where they'll give a gift with their own logo on it. It'll be like you'll get, I don't know, like
nobody cares. Yeah,
a pencil sharpener, a T-shirt that says Remax Mainline, like with the Remax logo on it. I mean, with all due respect, anytime I've gotten we as real estate agents are the target of many mortgage lenders. How many times have we gone to an event where a mortgage lender will give you quote unquote swag, which stands for stuff we all get, by the way, SWAG, yep. Stuff we all get. So like I mean, even as someone giving the gift, if you're giving something, hey, here's a swag bag, like even the giver is like, oh, here it is. Here's a swag bag. Here's some stuff we all get. Like even the recipient's going to be like, oh, cool. Like awesome. Thanks. That's awesome. And they'll throw it away. They'll donate it to Goodwill or something like that. So it's not something that they're actually going to actually keep and cherish. So the goal is when you do give a gift, and this is what I learned from John Rulin in his gifting book, is to instead of giving just a rather swag or something like that, you want to give somebody what's called an artifact. And by that I mean like something that if their house was burning, they would want to run back into the house to get it and give it to their family members and friends for generations. So because it's a family artifact. So like John Rulin actually gave Tony Robbins, to get access to him, he printed out onto a set of steak knives a bunch of quotes from Tony Robbins and put them onto every steak knife in the set and then sent them to him. And then Tony Robbins' wife called up and was like, yo, that is the best gift we've ever received. It's got all of Tony's quotes on these Cutco knives, and they're good knives. Like, this is awesome. Like, I was like, wow, that's really legit. So I actually put Cutco into my inventory where I start drawing from, because I got a pair of scissors from John Rulin once, and it had my last name engraved on the scissors. And here I am talking about him on the radio 7 years later. And that's just because it's got a pair of scissors with my name on it, as opposed to his name. Like, if it just said like Rulin Group on it, I would have been like, whatever. I mean, they're good, I guess, but I'm not. It's a good quality item. So that's basically what I do. And everything, like when it comes to giving things to people, the goal is, it's not just to make an impression, because if you give alcohol or like a champagne bottle at closing, which is what so many real estate agents do, and it drives me up a freaking wall. One, it's going to get consumed and forgotten about. Two, what if they don't drink? Three, what if they have a family member who's an alcoholic who maybe they're sensitive to that? Like, there's all kinds of things that are wrong with that. And let's just say they do like alcohol and they're good with champagne. That's one positive impression. So like versus like, and if you're giving swag or something with your logo on it, something that's absolute trash that they're not going to tell you that it's a nice gift, they're going to be like, oh, thank you, and then they're going to turn around and throw it in the trash. So when you do that, like when you give swag, you're actually paying money to make a negative impression. Which if I put that in a business strategy and pitched it to you, you'd be like, "Are you out of your mind? I'm not going to pay money to make negative impressions. Like, what, are you crazy?" But then again, so many people are doing that. So what you want to do is, using the artifact principle that we talked about, is when you give an artifact, you are making a positive impression 365 days a year, because they're using it every day. They're thinking of you every time they pick it up, even though your name and logo is not on it. So like John Ruland's scissors that he gave me, I've been thinking about this guy for freaking 7 years because these pair of scissors, every time I pull them out, they've got my last name on them, and they're damn good scissors. And I'm like, wow. So here I am talking about it. But like, and the gifts I give my clients, they're all custom made to them. They're world-class items. Like they're paintings of their house. That they're like a client of mine who has their wedding coming up on May 21st.
Did you get invited?
No, but I might now. But so like I put a little reminder into my phone to like be like, okay, they are getting married, and this is where being a really good real estate agent is where you start. This is where the listening skills come up, because like when you're listening to things, you find out, oh, we're about to get married, so we want to buy a house. I'm like, wait a minute, you're about to get married. When is the wedding? Like, I want to know these things. Where is it? Tell me everything. Like this, because we are, as real estate agents, we have like several different hats. Like we have like we're psychologists, we're babysitters, we're private investigators, we're everything. So giving all that stuff, I think what we want to do is just focus on giving positive impressions, and when you investigate people enough, you can send gifts. Like I sent those people champagne flutes with their names. It was like Matt, groom, date of wedding, Annie, wedding, all that stuff. Wedding date, bride on it. Like, it was custom to them. It's memorable.
Good stuff. Quick question. How long did it take you to get your sphere to the level it's at now?
Between 1 and 3 years, probably.
1 and 3 years. So I think everyone needs to kind of take note. This is the long game. He's doing it really well, but it does take a little bit of time. We're getting played out. Steve, thanks for coming on. If people want to follow Steve, you can follow him at what? It's
at Philadelphia Real Estate Agent.
At Philadelphia Real Estate Agent on Instagram. You can follow Stacey at the number 2 Mitchco. You can follow Sarah at Ty_TyTime. That's TY_TYTIME. You can follow me at Tom Toole 3RD at Tom Toole the Third. And that's what we got this week on TooleTime Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.